What's happening? I just did a Dark Night of the Soul little something. Um, I don't even know if I should do this one. I feel like maybe I should do this one tomorrow, but I kind of promised it, you know? Um, Maybe it'll be like kind of like a two-parter, because I think this one's kind of more gonna be like, um, ponderances. Is that a word? I'm gonna fake like that's a word. Uh, Ponderings. I don't know. um, Black goo, man. I'm making lots of everything I'm researching is connected. That's one thing that I feel like I've said before, but I'm not positive. So if I haven't said it, I'll say it now. Everything I'm researching connects to each other, and that is a surprise to me. I did not think that that was going to end up being the case, but it's I don't even have to work hard to connect them. They are just connected, which is, you know, as a researcher, that's kind of cool, but as a being, that's fucking creepy. It's very weird, and you know, makes you a little loosey goosey. I don't know why I said that. Um, Earlier, someone asked the different forms and applications of how black goo is being introduced to the populace, and my answer was all. My answer was all because there are instances of it being found in the food supply, water supply, precipitation, meaning rain, sleet, snow, mist, and fog. Um, Ground, the soil, ocean water. I mean, it's in rock. It comes from rock. So, everything. And, there's mixed information as to what specifically it is and like where it comes from. Uh, there's speculation. We're not going to get a clear answer of that, so I just skip over that, to be honest with you. Even with it speaking, because it can speak, not audibly, but like you can communicate with it using different systems. Um, Also, there are reports that it has telepathic properties, so that's horrifying. Um, but you until you see stuff like that, you kind of have to just file it away as potentiality and not focus on it so much. Because then you start making up other shit in your head, and it becomes a thing. Um, uh, there are some other researchers that were mentioned in a conversation that I need to look into. So I guess that's yet another reason why there should be a part two of this second, or no, this is like a third series of black. I think it's just an ongoing black goo thing. I think I should probably just make some kind of playlist. Might not be specifically just for black goo, but maybe like metaphysical technologies or something like that. I don't know. But I'd like to see what those other researchers have to say, because so far what I'm kind of pulling from is mostly Harold Kotz and myself. Um, I do have enough to go off of that proves the existence. Which there are lots of things that I pay attention to and talk about that I can't prove. I can't prove. I can't. Um, I can't do more than show the potential for a thing, or it's me essentially agreeing with someone else's theory of some shit. But with this though, nope, that's real. I mean, every aspect that you can look into is telling you that too. There are patents, there's video, there's mainstream media coverage, there's non-mainstream media coverage. Like, it's one of the few things where it's like, well, that's just not being hidden at all. So to not accept it as a reality is very weird to do. Man, I talked about this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. I picked a random video just because it popped up in my recommended shit of kind of like a mini deep dive into the Black Goo as far as it is referenced in, who is it, James Cameron? Is it James Cameron that did Prometheus and all that shit? I don't know who did that, but it's like another one of those situations where it's like a Star Wars guy. There are certain beings that are given information to implement into their work. I don't know if they're Masons. I don't know what that is, but there's many of them. Star Wars guy. My favorite author, I think, is one of them. Pierce Brown. Modern day Homer. Pierce Brown is some of the best writing I've ever seen. Contemporary. Modern day Odysseys, modern day Iliad type shit. Just amazing work. Pierce Brown. If you've never read his work, the Red Rising series was transformative for me in a lot of ways, in a whole lot of ways. Speaking, in a multifaceted sense. But yeah, he's one. Stephen King, another one. Matt Groening, obviously one. The Simpsons TV show. I mean, it's, to be honest, there's a lot. It's not just these beings that do it repetitively. There are some that have one-offs. There's an author who goes by the pseudonym Pittacus Lore, who wrote I Am Number 4. That's another one. He has a whole book series, but he had a movie deal that seems like it got killed, interestingly enough. I feel like that movie did okay. I'm not sure, though. I don't fucking know. I read a lot of the books. They're good books. Nothing to scream over, but they are good books. And he has like a shtick where Pittacus Lore, the character, is from this planet that he's writing about, the main character of. So there's Pittacus Lore, the author, and then there's the character that he's writing about, the characters. There's more than one. But there is a main character. Stan Lee, that's another one. And the reason I'm saying all these is because I watched this video having to do with the Black Goo in Prometheus and Alien Covenant, and just that whole universe. And it is infuriating. It's infuriating how it's not even science fiction. It's not fiction. They just took the aspects of this very real thing and put it in this fucking sci-fi universe. And like I said earlier, there are parts of it that have not come to fruition. I hope they do not come to fruition, to be honest with you. There's no acid blood. There's no, face huggers and creatures and shit. But those aren't specific to Black Goo, though. In the series, Black Goo is, or in that universe, the Black Goo is transformative. It's capable of terraforming, and it's capable of very rapid evolution. Many times aggressive, though. So it's not really symbiotic. It's parasitic. It takes over, and either makes you very, very hostile and aggressive. Uh, since it's taking over, it's giving you advanced abilities. Um, there's portions of it that do not match this yet, right? Yet. It's not to say that that won't happen. It's just to say it hasn't happened yet. And I obviously hope it does not happen that way. But again, pessimist. And the fact is that there are enough things that coincide. There are enough things that match up to where it's like, okay, well then, is this like an earlier iteration and you're waiting to put out the advanced iteration, or is it like there's just lots of options there, and it is infuriating because someone made the point that they thought maybe he was showing he had knowledge of the Anunnaki, and I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. It could be, but from my view, what they would have meant was the engineers, right? Anunnaki being the engineers, and so I will say, the description of the Anunnaki kind of matches the engineers, sort of, but not. So, it also kind of matches the beings that the Anunnaki found here when they got here. So, who knows? Who's to say? But the black goo itself, within that pantheon, that universe, has a lot in common with the one that's in this universe. And things are always not always, things are many times set up in a way to where if you were to try to make these delineations, the naysayer or the, whatever you want to call them, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, they would say, oh, well, then they're just using it as like a springboard. They're using it as like a muse to create something for their story. And it's like, bruh, you're reverse engineering the concept. It's sure you can view it in that way, but that's not the point. The point of it is there are too many instances, too many examples of concepts that are just not creative at all. They're not using creativity. They're just giving your stories back to you. They're giving your shit back to you as fiction. Maybe they add a little bit. Maybe they show some stuff that hasn't been shown here yet. But in any sense, and I think it even applies to like The Magicians, one of my favorite series, The Magicians. I think it was originally on like Sci-Fi, which made me not watch it because their shows are usually terrible. But then it was on Netflix, and I was like, you know what, I'm fucking bored, let me watch this. It wasn't even that I was bored. I was starting to get into the concept of magic. I was learning, I think I was into the Goetia and the Qlipoth and shit at this point. And so I'm like, yeah, let's watch the shit I'm going to be able to do soon. This is before I found out that it was fucking psychology. So I watched the show, and the show is amazing. It is amazing. It's what I think, it's what Harry Potter should have been for adults, because Harry Potter's for children. If you're an adult and you like Harry Potter that much, not to say you can't see the coolness a little bit in it, because it's about magic. But if you love Harry Potter, like you dress up like Harry Potter, that's strange to me. Personally. Not talking shit. Just saying. Personally. Because it's about children. It's very childlike. But the Magicians, though they are in college, they're at a school, whatever. But this is an adult school. These are adults. And it has very adult themes, very adult, writing devices and whatnot. Archetypes. Everything about it is for non-children, not for children. So I think that's why I took to the magicians more so than taking. I don't like Harry Potter. It's not for me. Uh, you know, all the muggles and all those goofy terminologies and jelly beans and shit. It just, I don't give a fuck about that, you know? Um, but I think even with that, I don't know where I'm getting it from. It just seems like an inclination or just a feeling. Even the magicians, I'm like, you know what? This is real. This is just them writing about some shit that's real somewhere. Because with the whole concept of that, it's the same thing as Harry Potter, and this is kind of why I feel like that, because the delineations drawn between those two written, um, stories, though one is kind of geared at children and one is geared at adults. There's the common concept that these schools are not able to be found by the naked eye, by the random regular person. And from my research, when things keep stacking up like that, when things keep they're like repeated in that way, it's because the seed of truth exists there. So like I was having the conversation earlier with someone about I don't like the terminology programmable graphene. I think that that's a scapegoat. I think that's like a way to make it sound like something that it's not. Black goo sounds goofy, and I get that, but it's not. It's a very, very real thing. Um, anyway, the 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 concept of that specific subject matter has been repeated over and over again since the 70s. That has been put into pop culture and movies and TV, songs, even. I found songs for some reason. And books, definitely within books, comic books, all these things since the 70s, maybe even the 60s. I think I might have found some shit from the late 60s. Um, that's significant. The fact that it's repeated so much and the properties of it are so close together from one thing to another, that's very significant. And uh, you can say that that's a continuation of someone being inspired by the first person and the next person's inspired by the next person. And sure, that could be true too, but I think that there's more to it than that. I don't think it's just being inspired over and over again. Because not only are those inspired by each other, supposedly, but they're bankrolled. They're allowed to be pushed to the forefront so that you view them, because independent film is not new. I know that a lot of people are into indie movies and shit now, indie music, indie everything. People are into niche shit now, and they actively they like knowing that it's independent versus being big budget. But that's not a new thing. There are independent movies from the beginning of film. Some people just like making movies, and they just like making music or comic books or whatever. Doesn't matter what the thing is. There's always going to be a niche, you know, sub group of subgroups. There's always going to be independent everything. And I think that one of the things that people don't realize is that like the things that get picked to be at the forefront are very, very, very particular. They're not by chance, and they're very much orchestrated to do things. You know, same way that music. There's specific music genres and music artists that are pushed to the forefront. Uh, it's like that with everything. With everything, even fashion. You may not see the kind of connections between fashion and how we act as a society. But that's apparent. That's not a insignificant thing at all. And so, again, the fact that I see black goo representations going all the way back to the 70s, maybe the late 60s, that's significant. Actually, you know what? It does go back to the 60s, possibly even the 50s. We were talking about this earlier. There's the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There's Puppet Masters. Blob. Is it Blob or The Blob? You know, whatever, one of those. Those are also representations, you know, give or take. And the thing is, a lot of the time, it's really not attributed to space as much. I know that with the Prometheus shit and all this James Cameron stuff, more recently it's attributed to space, but I think that's because, you know, of NASA needing to push that narrative. It's almost like there's a movie called Thank You for Smoking that really opened my eyes to lobbying. And not just on a political level. It opened my eyes to lobbying just in general and product placement. And lobbying and product placement don't just apply to the things that you think they do. Lobbying does not just happen in politics, and product placement does not just happen in the way you think for movies and commercials and TV and all that shit. There's product placement and stuff that you may not even notice it, and it is very creepy. You know, whether it be an influencer wearing certain shit or having certain shit placed on their desk. I used to watch a lot of podcasts, comedy podcasts too, and where they make their money before they found Patreon was sponsors. And I started to realize, because I wanted to have a podcast, I was into comedy, trying to get it in comedy. Where they make their money is not just doing ads. There's certain brands like Death Water or whatever the fuck it's called. They would pay you just to put Death Water on your desk and leave it there. You drink it or not, but just have it there. And there are multiple instances of that concept, not just with shit on a desk, you know, posters on your wall, all kinds of stuff. And you may or may not notice it, and you may or may not think that it's effective, because I think it's not that effective, but I'm probably wrong. Like, when you go to a place and they have a specific set of choices, you know, there's bottled Dasani or Death Water or some other goofy water that is maybe an artesian water or some shit. Maybe you pick the Death Water because you've seen it 8,000 times from your favorite podcast, you know? Maybe so. I don't see that. I'm very specific about the water that I drink. I'm not drinking Death Water. No offense. That's not true. I mean offense. But, you know, you bring that on yourself. You put that shit out about attaching spirits to your fucking cans of water. That's weird. Why the fuck would I want to drink that? Yeah, I just think that those things are there specifically. And there's so many different levels of it, just generally speaking. So Thank You for Smoking talks about how there are specific things that are put together on purpose. You know, they may seem like they're organic, but they're not. You know, maybe someone smokes in a movie when they weren't a smoker. The writer didn't write it that way, but they're going to pay $2 million to have this character be a smoker. Or vapor, you know, or an alcoholic even. Sometimes they turn a character into an alcoholic to push alcohol, to remind you that alcohol exists. And that may sound silly or funny to you, but it's real. That's a real thing. They don't care if it's a negative or positive representation of it. It just reminds you of drinking. Because you're either going to drink or you're not gonna drink. And if you're not gonna drink, it's not for you. They don't give a fuck if you see that. They're doing that for those that drink and are struggling with it, or that drink and are happy. They love drinking. They don't see it as a problem. That's who that character's for. And I think it's no different than stuff like that. So you go back far enough, and black goo is just kind of like a concept. It's a thing that's in stuff. And then, they add space to it because NASA needs people to believe in that system, in that thing, because they're laundering your money for... they're laundering your money to be doomsday preppers. Right? It's funny because it's true. Yeah, but that, I mean, this is it's a kind of daunting area of my research because it is very creepy. It's very creepy because there's an air to it of, oh, I already know this is real. So any of the stuff that I find out, or any of the potentials that become, more potentially possible or true, it just it's more creepy. There are aspects of it that have not, and I don't think can be proven really as things are right now. A lot of the stuff that, Harold Kotz talks about, a good half of it is already proven, and then another whole section of it is just his own experience. And I'm not going to say that that's not true. I'm just going to say it's not proven. And those are different. They're true for him. I don't know if he has not provided evidentiary backing for those things. But he asserts that there is a negative, like a disagreeable black goo and an agreeable black goo. And while I agree that that is the common kind of concept of how this realm works, there's no evidence of an agreeable black goo. There is only instances and representations of disagreeable black goo. Very, very, very disagreeable black goo. There's no pictures. There's no research data that has like pictures or video or any of that stuff. Just his assertion that there is a positive. And maybe he's trying to create a thought form or something like that. But I don't think that that's going to work unless you provide some sort of like, here you go. Here's it not being a dick. As a matter of... Jeez, dude. There's... Not to jump around, but there's a... House of Pain. Not to jump around, but there's even a representation of... It's not black goo, it's pink goo. But in fucking Ghostbusters, that's black goo. What the fuck? That's black goo too. Wow. Fuck you, man. Alright. It comes from below. The entire thing, that's black goo. Motherfucker. It's under the city. You dicks. Hey, this place is weird, bruh. Do y'all realize that? Is that why you're watching? Because you also see it's weird? You know what I mean? Because that's pretty shitty. Right? That's not cool. There's a new Ghostbusters coming out. It actually looks pretty sick. There's also a movie called Long Legs that looks pretty sick also. Dude, in Men in Black, there's the scene where he takes him to look at the hot sheets, I think he calls them. Which is just the regular old, what are they called? The, the The shit that's at the checkout at the grocery store. I always forget this word. I always forget this word. Someone's gonna say it in the comments. I'm gonna feel like an asshole. It's like fake magazines that do all the gossipy stuff for like, I mean, it used to be just all kinds of crazy stories, but more so now it's just about like famous people and their drama and stuff, which I am not into. I probably would have bought those now if they were about the stuff that they used to be about. Those stories used to be like, man finds six-legged dog in his backyard, or alien posing as man has quadruplets with Earth Woman. Like, just random stuff. It would be random stuff. But K takes J in Men in Black, and he's like, this is where we get our intel from. And I think that was kind of like a soft disclosure of like, hey, we put stuff in stuff. So if you can read, you'll see it. And when I say if you can read, I don't mean like reading books or reading English or anything like that. I mean like read, like code. Do you read code? Are you a code talker? Can you read code? And that doesn't mean decoding. That's a very big thing right now. Everyone's decoding stuff with gematria and shit. I'm not talking about gematria, dude. I'm not saying that there's no value in it, because it seems like there's something to it. There's numbers. But I think people are becoming obsessive about it. And, everything has its place, but its place is not everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's stuff. There's stuff to gematria. Don't fucking get mad at me. Numerology people, gematria people. But code. There's a different type of code that is not that. And it's very discernment based. Like these movies and shit. The movies, music, TV shows, you can spot it. It's not hard. I feel like many are on the beginnings of like code reading. Maybe not code talking, but like code reading, and either don't know it or don't really realize it or whatever, but it's there. And I think a lot of people do it, they just don't know that they're doing that. Like, and some of them I don't like the ones that kind of make it into a commodity for TikTok and shit like that. Like Nizzy Conspiracy, I think his name is. Nizzy Conspiracy talks about movies and TV shows, but sometimes he's reaching so hard that it's beyond the possibility of like organic. It's you definitely needed something to make some content with, and you reached for this thing. And I've called him on it a couple times just to be like helpful, because that makes you look bad. And the comments did not disagree with me. They're like, bro, you need to fucking calm down. Anyway, fucking Ghostbusters, dude, that makes me mad. That just made me mad as fuck. They just changed the fucking color to pink, you bitch made. Ugh. Yeah, man, I don't know. I'm a little creeped out about doing experiments with it anymore. I did a good bit of experimentation and dissection, we'll call it. Because, the stuff that Harold Kotz talks about, they do make, it is nanotechnology. I don't like the wording of calling it programmable graphene. That just seems to be what science has named it, so others keep saying it. But if it's programmable, show me what's programming it, is what I'll say. Because it seems if it, so maybe it is, and they're referencing whoever, whoever. But to me, it's I've only seen instances of it being like kind of sentient. But okay, so maybe by programmable they mean frequency, because it is stimulated by frequency and vibration. Even when it's in the form of a fruiting body, it will animate. It will reanimate with frequency or vibration stimuli. So I can have it on a slide under my microscope, and I can play different frequencies, and it will react to some of those frequencies, even if it's in insect form. So like, I have a plan. I've separated all the pictures out because they were scattered over time, because you know how these phones are, like I didn't do all this in one day, so all the pictures aren't in one spot. So I went and kind of separated them out and put them in a folder, and I plan on putting them somewhere. I tried putting them on my Patreon because I didn't want to get messed with, but then one of you fucks went and reported it for sexual content. So I took all those pictures down, and then guess what? They gave it back after a week of making me wait. So, I don't know if I'm going to do anything on Patreon for now. I might just leave that there until I get enough people who say they want to hear the real shit, the other stuff. Because believe it or not, there's a bunch of shit I don't talk about. And the plan was to do that on the Patreon. But first video got reported for sexual content when it's just me doing this and providing some extra like evidence, like physical, like here's pictures, here's video of me doing this and me showing this and so on and so forth. I'm still gonna do that, but I need there to be enough interest, enough like participation in the Patreon for me to actually take the chance, because I don't want to lose the channel or the Patreon before I have the chance to even use it, because it was my I think some people use Patreon sexually, so I don't even understand what that meant. Didn't like Adam 16 or some shit have a Patreon doing that type stuff? Someone does. I'm pretty positive someone does. Maybe it's because it was reported for that, but it wasn't labeled as that, is maybe what happened. Regardless, whoever did that, you are a bitch for that. You are a bitch made for that. You could have just said something to me directly, hey, I don't like you. And I could have been like, I don't like you either, I guess. And then we could have been done with that, slap fight or something. But that was a pussed way to do that. Pusillanimous way to do that. So yeah, hopefully I get enough. If you're into that, let me know and I'll just compile them. If I get like, 20 people, I don't know. If I get enough people, I'll start putting stuff on the Patreon, because at least then I could be like, hey, no one else reported this. If there's one person that didn't even subscribe to the Patreon or become a patron reports it, then that happens a couple times. I'm assuming I lose the capability. So yeah, I don't know that I want to fuck around with that again. The experimentation and documentation process of it again. If things start to change, like if others are like, hey, this is happening to me, and I somehow set it up to where they can like kind of like very securely and I mean very securely set up a specimen, it would have to be airtight, because I don't want that. I threw all my specimens away. I don't want to be around that shit anymore, dude. It's very creepy. Once it starts to replicate and make stuff, I don't like it. It's not, You know, you try to have a scientific mind, but then you realize, like, oh, this is all around me at all times. Not good. Not a good headspace to be in. But I will provide those pictures somehow. There's a lot of them. I think there's like 50 in that folder. I think there's like 50 pictures in that folder. I've given you guys like 5, I think, 4 or 5 of them. But there's like a lot more. There's a whole bunch more. And a video, I think. I don't know if that's one of the frequency videos. I think I'm gonna hold on to the video stuff for like Patreon or something, because I really don't want to get fucked with for that. Like at all. I don't want to get fucked with for that. And I'm not sure that is okay to be like putting out in the public. A paywall for some reason makes stuff okay. I don't know why that is, but it seems to sometimes. Maybe not though. Maybe that's why it got fucking reported, right? Maybe it wasn't a douche. Maybe it was one of you government folk that watch. Was it you? Government people? Agency? Or below me dwellers? Below me dwellers? Below me dwellers? Below me dwellers? Below me? Yeah. Whatever. I don't know of a way to do that. There's not really a way to. I think you get 5? You get 5 pictures on the community posts on YouTube, and you can do 10 on Instagram, but most of you don't follow me on Instagram, and I get it. I only use it. Instagram is a tool for me, and it's a really good tool actually. I'm on it right now shooting this, so you know, I don't know of a way to get that to you. The Patreon seemed to be a good way, but I tried putting them all. I put all of them actually on that one post. I shot my load on that one pretty quick. I probably should have just done like 10, but at the same time, you know, I don't think like that. I'm just like, here you go. Here's all of it. Did not work out. Yeah. I don't know that I have much more than that at the moment. There's definitely going to be a part 2, because I think I just gave feelings on stuff and like little mini epiphanies. I don't even know what I just said, to be honest. A lot of it. I said stuff. I said things. But it's not technical. But there are also other Black Goo videos on the channel. There's a set of 2. There's a part 1 and part 2 where I'm kind of going over what I've found through Harold Kotz. I don't reference my own shit because I'm still kind of creeped out about saying it publicly. Then there's the Alex Jones is usually not wrong video that talks about it a little bit, and the smart dust and shit. Oh, that's the same stuff. Smart dust, programmable graphene, Black Goo, Morgellons. All that's the same shit for the most part. I mean, there are anthrobots and nanobots and all that stuff, but to me, it would kind of make sense and stand to reason that those are the same thing and just being labeled as different shit. Because I really think that we're not as technologically as advanced as we're being told in some ways, and then in other ways we're way more technologically advanced, if that makes sense. Like the things that you're told are things are actually other things, and then the things that you're told don't exist for sure exist. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, I believe that. I've believed that for a long time, actually. Yeah, so I'm not gonna keep rambling. But there should be a part 2. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a part 2. Because we're supposed to, one of the groups is supposed to have a discussion about it tomorrow. Some of them have been researching other researchers that I have not. So I have been on Harold Kotz, and they have, there's some female researcher or scientist or something who apparently has some work. I need to go and find her name in the chat and do some listening to some of her lectures so that I can be prepared for tomorrow. More work. More work. Yay. Yeah, man. I think that's it. Later.